morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I get to compete with the airport closures.
Yeah, boy.
Wall Street Journal, it's not fake news. Now everybody's on their phone. Speaking of your phones, can you take out your phones for me for a moment? And I'd like you to open up your Photos app on your phone. So unlock your phones, open up your Photos app, and now pass it to your neighbor.
No way.
And let them go through your phone. We would never do that, would we? That's dangerous. Some of you might go. Dangerous. I don't do that. I promised that I would not do product demo. Actually, I was told I can't do product demo, which I love because I hate product demos in sponsored presentations. I want to leave you with a few things in the next few minutes that I have learned traveling around the world, working with Vendasta's 1,300 global partners and sales organizations. If you look up sales in the dictionary, there's a picture of Michael and myself. I'm a career salesperson. Been doing this for about 30 some odd years in the media business. I happen to work at a tech company, but a tech company that works with media companies. So very uniquely positioned to learn about what's working and what's not working in 2019 when it comes to your salespeople on the street. So those of you who have very effective sales organizations and are hitting all of your targets can leave now, because you're not going to get anything of benefit out of my next few minutes of presentation. And when I say that, nobody leaves, because we all have problems that we're trying to solve in the effectiveness of our sales organizations. So this is just an eye chart of all of the great organizations that we work with, and all of those organizations have unique challenges. I'm on my way to a ridiculous 16-hour flight on Saturday to Johannesburg to work with an organization in South Africa, 260 salespeople. When we started our engagement with that organization, there was 390 salespeople, and they've been working on cleaning that group up. They found that they're actually doing more revenue now with less people because they're able to find some efficiencies using some robots. I do want to talk a little bit about this CRO title. It was invented in Silicon Valley here a number of years ago. It's now all over the place. I do like the CRO title because it, rather than just have a vice president of sales that gets blamed when you don't hit the targets, you have somebody in the C-suite that is owning revenue and owning the go-to-customer model. And I'm not going to talk about go-to-market because that's marketing's job and that's product's job. I'm going to talk about go-to-customer today and some of the things we've learned around the go-to-customer model. Those are some of the characteristics of the CRO. There's one other characteristic of CRO, person that's owning revenue: strong opinions, loosely held. I can change my opinion in a heartbeat. If we find something on the street that is resonating with a customer group, we have to be very nimble and we have to be able to change so that we can meet this changing market that we're dealing with. So I'm going to go lightning fast through this. I do want to tell you that we position our company as an engine that helps media organizations grow revenue. That's what we're all about at the Vendasta company. I'd love to tell you more about the organization, but we can do that at lunch. This has been our revenue growth, and I was salesperson number 1 7 years ago when I joined the organization. We grow by about 40 to 50% year-over-year growth. So last year was 44%, pretty much right on target, which makes the investors very happy, makes me happy, because it's a bonus, salesperson, that's what I'm all about. But when I first arrived at the organization, I was very much a traditional media seller, where I thought, put me in front of a client, we'll make the sale. That's how we're going to do our go-to-customer model. But we learned that there were some ways to go to customer in 2014, 2015, 2016 that could make the organization way more effective, so that it's not just knocking on the same doors. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges I saw the media companies have, is that we have that customer list that we give to the client, to the sales rep. We say, go see those customers and show them our product and sell it to them. But there is a way more effective way to go to market. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those revenue motions. We have some organizations like this company that had 100 salespeople when we walked in the door last January. They culled the herd. We're down to 32 now, and they are hiring a different breed of salespeople this year. It used to be warm body was better than nobody, but now they're spending more time in their interview process. I will also tell you that one of the very interesting things with this organization, they changed out their HR department when we started working with them. Because the HR department that they had was used to hiring people for the last 10, 15 years, not used to hiring the new people that they needed to sell digital products and solutions. And they went from a stack of 2 things that they were selling to selling 15 things. So they needed a different breed of salesperson to be able to accomplish that. And what I found is, yeah, you can teach old dogs new tricks, but not very often. You need to position an entire new culture in order to sell new things. So as organizations move to selling new things in their stack, they need to have a different type of salesperson. And sometimes when you look at the culture, you need to have a different type of organization to attract those salespeople. So I'm a big believer in the revenue growth model. This isn't a graphic that I designed, I think I stole it. But it really speaks to when you're running a sales organization, some of the things that you need to be thinking about. From the strategy and the revenue segments and the value propositions of the various solutions that you're selling, to the structure of the organization and how you're going to cover off those channels. So you may have someone that just handles automotive because they're really good at understanding the challenges of the automotive business. And we need to get away from being in love with our products and fall in love with our customers' problems. Because that's what your customer is looking for, is somebody that has solved their problem. They don't want to buy your stuff. And ramming a square peg into a round hole isn't going to work in 2019 because your customer probably knows more about the thing that you're selling than the sales rep that's positioning it in front of them. So understanding how to cover off that channel coverage, understanding what the job design of the organization should look like so we can hold people accountable. Yes, accountability is something that I find is missing in most sales organizations. We've got sales managers and sales leaders that just stick their head in the sand and hope that things get better, rather than taking a good hard look at the reps and what they're doing. So having that data, how many calls are being made. I worked with a group 3 weeks ago. We recognized that they were giving up too early. We had the data, we were looking at the presentation, we knew what the value proposition was, but we found that the reps were giving up after 3 calls. We started interviewing the salespeople. We found it out on a 4-legged call. And we found that the client was saying, I'm just really busy. You've got to try harder to get a hold of me. And now speaking to those sales managers, we found that they're increasing their deals, they're closing more deals by just getting their organization to deploy more effort. It seems really simple, doesn't it? But that's where we're finding the solutions inside sales organizations, are these really simple little tweaks, but we have to look at the data and we have to become scientists. And that was where my business really changed. I'm a pretty good sales guy most of my career. I was over budget. I'm a pretty good speaker. I could present like a hot damn. But when I became a scientist and I started to really look at the data, that's where we started to blow our numbers out of the water. I'm a big believer in understanding your client's customer journey. This is something that we really push. And Michael has saw this graphic, so you can leave now if you want. But when we started working with Heartland, we beat this into your sales organization, understanding that most media salespeople, and I'm one of these people, have spent all their time thinking about that right there, generating awareness around a brand. But in 2019, a consumer now goes to listing sources, they go to review sources to do their own level of research. I just bought a dishwasher. I've never done more bloody research on that thing. I went to 15 different places to look at it before I ever went to the store to buy it. By the way, Miley dishwashers, they're fantastic. They got really good hinges in the doors. They got this wrap. Anyways, I did a lot of research. I know it inside and out. And then we've got this conversion point. The conversion point where all that advertising converts into a sale. And what we need to do then is take the people that love our brand and turn them into advocates. So this is what your clients need to be focused on, is the customer journey of their possible prospects. And the stages of that customer journey, you need to win each one of them. You need to win each stage. And if you can win each stage of the customer journey, you can actually turn your competitors' advertising into your own. Now this applies to everybody in this room as well, because we all work in competitive environments, and there are people out there that are driving awareness around whatever solution it is that we're selling. And if we can give them a better experience, we're more likely to convert more of those deals, and we can actually gobble up some of our competitors' advertising. So I really like that, because I've got some competitors spend a ton of money on advertising. I just got to make sure that the prospect has a better experience with my organization than with the competition's. In all the years that I've been selling advertising and marketing and working with customers, I wish that they spent a lot of time thinking about advertising, but they don't, do they? What do your clients think about more than anything?
Selling a product.
Well, I think that, but I think they actually think about their competitors. That's what they lose sleep about. And they think about their staff ripping them off. Stealing from them or stealing time from them. Isn't that what we worry about that, don't we? Are your reps out right now making pitches to customers and solving their problems? That's what we worry about as sales managers. So if we can appeal to the customer with a compelling, and that's why this is go to customer and not go to market. Sitting across from the customer and appealing to what keeps them awake at night. The other thing that we did as an organization, and I've been working to teach media companies and agencies to do this, is really understand your buyer personas. I've had 5 different groups in the last 6 months where we went in and we said, listen, you're not selling something to the same customer. Each one of those customers has a unique set of pain points. And the way that you solve them is by selling a different bloody package. But again, that's falling in love with your product and not falling in love with their problems. So if I sit across from a plumber, they've got a different set of problems than the auto dealer. Why do we pitch them the same way? Again, this comes back to go to customer. We have to focus, we have to lament over go to customer. So by coming up, we did this at an offsite over an entire day with our executive team. We sat down and we said, who are our customers? So I've got a group called Big Brown Bob. There's actually a guy named Bob who wears a suit like that every time we call on him. He's based in Detroit and he deals with auto dealers. One of his clients is General Motors. He's got a different way of going to market than my friend from Heartland. Because Heartland is concerned with the General Motors dealer in Eugene, Oregon. They're not concerned with General Motors Corporation. So we can't sell Big Brand Bob the same. Actually, there is a guy named Nick that looks exactly like that in the newspaper business. And Radio Rachel, I'm meeting her later for a drink. She just lives down over here on South Beach. We have these personas so that when we put it in front of our organization, they understand that it's not just one customer. There's a different set of problems that each one of those customers has. The other piece of the go-to-customer model, how many of you are Simpsons fans? Gil is dead. The guy or the woman with a bag walking into the customer, making the pitch, saying, buy my stuff, it's not how you go to customer in 2019. You go to customer by doing things like nurturing the lead way ahead of time and teaching them about how you can solve their problems, building top-of-mind awareness for your organization, around your solutions, case studies of how you solve other people in like industries' problems. So the sooner we realize this, that Gil is dead, the sooner we got a shot at hitting our budgets. Because there's a whole different way that we more efficiently can go to market. I found that the team sales approach is a great way for us. I've got a group of 12 people, all they do is book appointments. And they're really bloody good at it. And they celebrate those wins by booking appointments. They get paid their bonus on booking appointments. They're the top one right there. It's called the tip of the spear. And then I've got teams of people that close, and you can see that they're a little bit more militant because they've got like skulls and some of them have swords and things like that. They just go in and they close deal. This is a SaaS software model. If you go to any SaaS company, they've got people on headsets doing inside sales with this type of model. It works great, but it's a team sales approach. By the way, none of this works without marketing, without demand gen, creating demand for the organization. Then the appointment setters set the appointments, then the closers go in and do the closing. Oh, by the way, it doesn't stop there. If you just stop there with the closing piece, churn will eat you. There's actually a tool online that shows you when churn will eat your organization. You can put in how many deals you're closing, you can put in what your churn rate is, you can put in what your annual contract value is, say, here's your ceiling, here's your growth ceiling if you don't solve. So you need to have some sort of customer success. We call it service, or we call it fulfillment. So all of those teams need to work together in the go-to-customer model. We need to cover off this approach. The more complex your product is, the more you're going to have a team approach to deliver that product. I do want to get into some things about, and I'm getting the wave here, the hook. I do want to get into a couple of things that I wanted to leave you with. This is where actionable sales coverage is when I walk into most media companies. Right here. It's kind of a little bit of acquisition. So I was pretty good at this. I went to, the breakfast where you've got the people in different verticals. So I would be the person in the media business, and then there'd be somebody from the drapery business, and there'd be somebody from the real estate. It was a leads club, right? You'd have breakfast, and you'd talk about the new business that was opening. That was our acquisition. Or you'd see new business opening soon, you'd run back and write the name in the book so that you could acquire it, you could block off that customer. That was acquisition. But there's a whole better way to do acquisition in 2019. So what's happening if we look at our sales coverage and the teams that we have and the organizations that I see, we're spending all of our time in retention. We're not growing new business. We just trip over it. Oh, there's a new customer. Whoa, okay, I'll just take it. Like you run over the deer and you throw it in the back seat and then you bring it home for lunch. Like that's not a very effective way to feed your family. There's a better way to do that. So what we need to do is to get our growth coverage of organizations like this. And up in that top right-hand corner, that's missionary. And I found that broadcast media doesn't even believe in this. But it's going to happen. So what that is where marketing makes the sale for you. You've got an educated buyer that wants to buy your solution. They do a ton of research on their own. They don't want to talk to a salesperson. They just want to press a button and buy. That's where we're going. How many of you book your travel through your travel agent? A couple people in the crowd. I got invited to a wedding, and this woman that is invited me is a longtime friend of mine. She says, yeah, we booked it with the travel agent. I'm like, that sucks. I wouldn't want to do it. I book all of my travel, and I travel all over the world on my phone. I don't even let my assistant book my travel. She put me in a middle seat once. That's horrible. The minute that it was easier to book our travel online, that's not an easy thing to do 10, 15 years ago. That's why we used a travel agent. But the minute that it became easier to book it on our phone, and we had somebody on a panel yesterday talk about the rebook of a flight that was canceled out of Toronto into Boston for me in the night, and they just put me on the next flight with a robot. That's where we're going. So we need to think about missionary, probably not there yet. The other piece is we need to think about penetration. How many of you have meetings with your sales teams and say, let's figure out ways to get more money from our existing customers? That's expanding our stack. We have the trusted relationship. I believe that the people in this room that are in broadcast, I love broadcast folks, number one, not afraid to ask for the money. You will ask for larger budgets. Just ask the newspaper people. They don't ask for large budgets anymore. They can't. They have no brand equity anymore. See, I can get away with that in this room. There's not a lot of newspaper here. I have a different pitch on the newspaper. But what I'm saying to you is penetrating that customer and understanding that there are more things that you could sell because you have that relationship. We need to be thinking about that. It's probably why you come to events like this. I call it expanding the stack. Expanding the stack that you're selling to the customer, not just ads, selling more things to the customers you have today. Then, coming up with a way to acquire customers. And that's marketing to do that, not just a rat knocking on doors. It's horribly inefficient. I do want to give one little plug around the types of salespeople. This is just for everybody that deals with salespeople in here. A little bit of comedy maybe for you. I'm this guy, I'm a landlord. I don't like to give up my customer. Like I really take a lot of pride in signing that customer and working with that customer and getting to know them. I hate it. I own the customer. I see a lot of these landlords. And I find that if you give them teams of people that can help support them, it's actually, you can help the landlord break the chains. So you got that, you got the star. I'm already successful. Just look at all the plaques I have on the wall. I'm the top performer. Why should I do something different? So you got to break through the stars. The paranoid, hiding under the covers. Manager's trying to take away my job. You've got the ostrich. I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and hope this thing goes away. By the way, you know why ostriches exist inside traditional media companies? Because we do throw shiny new things at them all the time and then we take it away. We go, oh, we're going to do this new thing, and then 3 weeks from now we're going to do some other new thing, and then we're going to do some other new thing, and some other new thing. We don't stick with the strategy. That's why these people exist. The cynic, we don't really know what we're doing. I don't trust anything that we do. These people, I tell them just to fire these people. Just get rid of them. They will destroy the culture inside your organization. The ConquerLocal podcast, we started a year ago, and here's the reason. It's totally self-serving. If I had to do the same sales training over and over and over again, I was going to shoot myself. So I wanted to come up with a scalable way to train. We have 27,000 salespeople around the world who have a log into our platform, and they're trusting us to help them make them the trusted local expert. In the month of December, the ConquerLocal podcast was the number 21 business podcast in the United States on iTunes. We're in 19 different countries. We had 14,000 downloads last week. it's really interesting. The podcasts that are getting the most downloads are not interviews with sales experts. They're actually what I call the master sales training series. Things like closing business, top sales, like they're really basic things that what I found is veterans love them because they like to be reminded. And it's great for new salespeople. When you hire a new salesperson, you just put them in front of the podcast and have them listen to it. So that's my shameless plug for the podcast. It's on all of the different podcast venues. And I appreciate your time and hope everybody gets home safe. Thank you.